All right, Monday, our last day in New York.
Last day.
We actually woke up early this day because
Of course, one day we had to. If we were there for a week, we would have. This would have been the trend, starting a week early, up early. But since we're only there for 3 days, it was a little rough.
yeah, especially considering we arrived at 2:00 in the morning on the one day, walked 16 miles, and then yeah. Anyway, so we got up early and we had a solid plan for this day. Katz's.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. So we took the subway. We walked over to Rockefeller Center, which was a little bit of salt in the wound, considering the tree thing from the previous day. But we took the subway over to Katz's. Did we even have to transfer lines?
No, it was one line all the time.
Man, the New York subway system is so efficient, at least for touristy things.
Well, the thing is it feels like the stations aren't near where you want to be, but the lines go. They have, well, the thing is they have east and west lines, so north and south.
Yeah.
And if you want to go all the way down the island, like we do, like it's really easy.
So we took the subway over to Katz's. That was like 25, 30 minutes.
Yeah, and we were thinking, oh, it's going to be busy in the subway.
So we got to Katz's at like 8:02. They opened at 8. Everything that we've ever seen about Katz's talks about how crowded it is and how impossible it is to get a table.
Yeah.
You have to get your ticket, and it's a whole big shebang. So we look in the windows and we're like, this can't be the right place.
Like, it can't be open. I thought it wasn't open yet.
We walk in, they hand us our tickets. There's no one in line.
Yeah, there's one person eating.
Yeah. And you could take a picture, and we did at the table where When Harry Met Sally. I'll have what she's having. We ended up ordering a lean pastrami.
The guy was like, are you sure it's going to be dry?
So we had ordered that pastrami sandwich at the other place, and it was just way too fatty to enjoy. So when I saw that lean and extra lean were an option at Katz's, I thought,
could you imagine extra lean? Ooh.
I like extra lean, but I think extra lean might have been dry. So we got the lean, and the guy gave us a little sample, and he was like, are you sure you want the lean? And I was like,
yeah,
hell yeah.
This is like, because Haley will cut out the meat, fat, and it's like perfectly what you want.
Yeah, that was exactly the sandwich that I wanted. So he cut it up, put it in a little package. We got some matzo ball soup.
We got it on
it on club bread, which is just French bread, because I don't like rye. I'm a bad Jew.
Yeah, they like squish open
a baguette.
Yeah.
For better.
I
wonder if the rye there would have been good. Anyway, I knew that I wanted what I wanted. So we got the sandwich, we got a matzo ball soup, which was very little for the cost, and we got a black and white.
Very much money, was it?
Just $13.50. Yeah. So then we got, that one might have been $9.50. I think the other one was $13.50. I think that one, yeah. So we also got a black and white cookie for one of my coworkers.
Did we talk about the other one?
Yeah, we did.
The recap? Okay.
Yeah. So...
Is this the day we found out that we went to the wrong Brooklyn deli?
No, that was the day before.
Okay.
So we took all of our items, and they were like, do you want to eat here or do you want it to go? And I was like, to go. We're going to Central Park. And they all looked at like... Because it's like a half-hour subway ride from there to Central Park.
It's a half-hour subway ride. It's pouring, or it was raining at that time. Raining on and off. And it's freezing cold. And they're like, well, once I saw someone with a...
Yeah, this older Jewish guy with a thick Brooklyn accent. It's like, you know what? I saw this couple in Central Park do this thing where they put up a whole thing and then they ate lunch and they had a picnic. And
it was pouring snow. And
and I thought I'd seen everything in New York at this point. It was great. I wish I had recorded him. He was a treasure. So
they were wonderful. Like, the older gentlemen were in there. I was like... So
we grab the things, we go back on the subway, go over to Central Park.
The soup was still warm when we got up there, which was so nice.
So Central Park, it was raining when we went to Katz. By the time we got back to Central Park, it was pouring.
It said it was supposed to stop raining at 9 o'clock. We got up there
like 9:10,
and
it was torrential. There was no shade. So we ended up trying to find any sort of an overhang, and the only available overhang was a COVID-19 testing tent, which I was not going to eat underneath.
Well, there was no one in it.
Someone suggested that, but...
There was no one underneath it, because it was...
Regardless.
It was just a tent left out.
Regardless. So...
And we didn't want to walk to, like, one of the tunnels. It would have been a much further walk.
Yeah. So we ended up picking a tree that had an overlook of the ornaments from Home Alone that were the whole spurn for this trip. And Phil took off his coat very valiantly, so we sat on that so the bench wasn't completely soaking through.
My coat is the same coat from the night before. It's very waterproof. It's actually one of the downsides about it. It doesn't breathe. So it'll keep you nice and toasty, but ooh, you get sweaty.
So yeah, so we ate the sandwich. At first we thought that we got 2 halves of the sandwich. We opened up the first package, the smaller one, and it was just pickles.
They gave us a sandwich size worth of pickles.
Rediscovered that I'm not a fan of pickles.
Yeah, she was like, let me try a pickle. Maybe it's different. I was like...
At first, it did taste good. At first, it tasted like the light pickling that I like. Like, I like lightly pickled things, on like Asian pickled vegetables. Those are great. This was still a pickle.
It was.
It was bad.
I could smell it. It was just overwhelming.
Yeah. So, we put the pickles away, and then we each enjoyed the sandwich.
Oh, it was still warm in the center of the sandwich? They put so much meat on there. It was...
Oh, and the lean pastrami was so good.
Thinking back, we were so miserable because it was pouring rain and like we had to find a bench that like was wet, and so I was like, oh, we could have the one other person in Cats we could have eaten inside.
I just didn't want to risk it.
So.
But it was lovely, and that sandwich just 10 out of 10.
Oh, so good. I wish I could find a sandwich like that here.
They all talk. A lot of people say that Cats is overrated, but to our uncultured tourist sensibilities, that's phenomenal.
There might be another Brooklyn or another
deli
in New York that sells a better sandwich.
But we didn't find it in these 2 days.
It's not as easily accessible to a tourist.
Yeah, this was... And the thing is, it doesn't feel touristy when you're the only one in there. I went there and expected it to feel like Borough Market craziness, where there's just people everywhere and it's all tourists and gentrified.
You don't get that individual personal feeling because I thought I was going to go in there and would be like giving 5 seconds of this guy's time while
yelling over the counter and being judged because we don't know 100% what we want.
No, it was like a very personal. They were like joking around because there's no one in the shop and they're like just like hanging around out, just hanging out.
Yeah,
it was like you could tell there's a lot of guys there because they are expecting the volume, but that early in the morning there was no volume yet, and so they're all just hanging out like
happy to help, happy to answer any questions. And I'm sure they are during the rest of the day, but it felt very personalized and it felt like time travel-y. Like, I'm sure that's what it felt like years and years ago before it became a tourist trap. This is what it was at its essence, just a market deli with a great sandwich.
And a couple of really friendly guys.
Yeah.
New Yorkers. A lot friendlier than I thought.
Oh, I love New Yorkers. They're so sarcastic and funny. They're the funniest people.
So sarcastic.
I love it. So we also got the matzo ball soup, and just like the other place, it was one giant matzo ball. Unlike the other place, there was no chicken in it. It was delicious broth.
Was that the better broth?
No, this wasn't the better broth. The matzo ball, though, this one had flavoring in it. It had green onions. It was so good. The ideal would be the broth and the chicken from the touristy Brooklyn diner from Times Square, but the matzo ball from Katz's. The matzo ball from Katz's, there's some Jewish bubbit making those. It was delicious.
I really enjoyed it. And it was warm.
Yeah.
And it really like warmed us up because we were just so cold.
It was like 20 degrees outside and Phil wasn't wearing a jacket, and eventually he wore a jacket because poor thing started shivering.
It was cold.
It was cold. So then after we ate, we walked over to the bridge where Kevin McAllister gave the pigeon lady the ornaments. We took a lot of fun photos there.
With the ornaments?
With the ornaments, yes.
That we brought with us. You could buy them. We found out we could buy them in New York, but they're like the wrong size. They're like bigger. Because the ones in the movie were actually small.
They're pretty small because they fit in Kevin's hand.
Yeah.
He was a little kid.
And so ours were prop realistic, so.
So that was enjoyable. And we had like an hour of extra time and we were waffling on, should we go down to the World Trade Center? Should we do this? Should we do that? Should we do the Central Park Zoo?
If we went to the World Trade Center, we would have been at the World Trade Center for 15 minutes before we had to head back up.
Yeah, which just didn't feel worthwhile. So we ended up just moseying back slowly.
Yeah, it would have been
we went to
different feel too for the trip.
Yeah, it's probably better that we ended on the ornaments because it was such an upswing and
the food was great.
Yeah. So we stopped at a tourist shop on the way back and I got a reusable bag. And then we got some Dunkin' for the road.
I didn't realize that drinking that Dunkin' would make me have to pee so bad on the airplane.
I did.
But yeah, that was. Yeah.
Was it worth it?
Yeah, I would have double fisted it.
So the best part, honestly, one of the better parts of the trip was because it came with the transportation to and from the airport. That made it so much easier.
Yeah.
All we had to do was wait for the car, and we took a nap while we waited.
Yeah, the guy called up and he's like, "I'm ready," and we're like, almost. We were pretty ready, but
we were pretty ready, but not.
I had to put my shoes on.
I assumed they would give us more than 5 minutes notice, and they didn't. I thought, oh, they'll probably call us like when they're 10, 15 minutes out. Nope, 5 minutes. So he drove us back.
It's a different driver.
It was interesting. On the way there, we had such a little car, and this one was like, was it a Suburban? Something like that.
Yeah, it was a Suburban.
But yeah, it was.
No, it was a Cadillac. It was an Escalade.
Wasn't? I don't
That's
think
why
it
he
was an
kept
Escalade.
yelling at him. Yeah, it was an Escalade because it kept yelling at him.
I don't think it was an Escalade.
Whatever had collision avoidance, and he kept triggering it, and it kept beeping at him.
He was not a great driver.
The first guy was a phenomenal driver compared to this guy.
Yeah, this guy. There were a few close calls, but he got us out, and there was a bit of traffic. Phil slept through most of the ride, so I don't even know what he remembers. He was like 100% asleep.
It was nice, but he texted me, and she said, so the vehicle has a smoother ride, right? Because it has the upgraded suspension, but the upgraded suspension had made a sound.
It was a dead ringer for pigeons cooing, like.
And it would sound like a.
I can't do a pigeon sound. Like the cooing of a pigeon. Exactly.
And every time I hit a bump, I'd go like that, and it'd go, coo,
coo, coo, coo, coo. And it was so funny. And
then she texted me that I could not unhear it. I was just cooing all the way to the airport.
So we got there, we checked in.
We had some time to kill. Not a lot, but we had some time.
Yeah, nothing too remarkable. We enjoyed the airport. We finally took our selfie with Adam Driver.
Oh.
And then we just kind of wandered around. We said goodbye to Shake Shack. We tried to find a bagel ornament. Or not an ornament. A bagel magnet. Nobody sells bagel magnets. When we went to Paris, there were baguette magnets everywhere. New York, you're missing out on the money from these tourists that love bagels, i.e. me. I want to
buy them online, but
it's not the same. I want to buy the bagel magnet when I'm there. So first flight was New York to Seattle, and we got these really fancy. It was like Premium Select instead of Economy Plus.
Well, we had Comfort Plus.
It's
so we had Comfort Plus the whole time, right? But on the way there, we were on shorter flights. So shorter domestic flights, the Comfort Plus isn't as nice.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know how when I picked the seats that I thought I picked them with no one beside us, but the one we had someone beside us.
Only on the very first flight to New York.
Yeah, the second flight to New York was empty. There was no one in it.
Yeah, and both of the other flights we were just by ourselves. Yeah. It was just that first flight.
And then on the flight back, we had...
It was like Signature or something. It was Premium Select for this one flight, because I guess they don't... That's what Comfort Plus is when you're going transcontinental.
Well, it's either this plane could be an international flight, or it was flying all the way across the U.S. from New York to Seattle. So it was a higher quality, like, amenities. And so the Comfort Plus on this was like...
The feet came out a little bit. It reclined a little bit further.
But it was still the same pay level.
Yeah, but it was nice. I slept very well. I started watching Sleepless in Seattle, and then I maybe made it 10 minutes in. And then I just conked out, which is good because I can finally sleep in window seats again.
Yeah, for some reason we couldn't sleep on the way there.
Yeah.
And I still couldn't sleep on the way back. So I played on my Switch. I played 3 hours on Civilization 6, and it was like a time machine. We were like landing. I was like, whoa. But I watched the rest of Free Guy, which under close examination it falls apart, but it was a fun romp.
Oh, when I woke up, I forgot I did watch a second movie, because I watched that Last Christmas, which I really like Emilia Clarke. I like Harry Golding.
I do like Emilia.
I like both of those actors, but...
She's phenomenal.
And Michelle Oh. I loved everyone in that movie. I love Emma Thompson. It fell apart at the end. I want stronger endings on movies.
Yeah.
But that was an uneventful flight. We landed, I think, 20 minutes early in Seattle.
Yeah, which means because we had it was
like an
hour and 5-minute layover, and then that turned into like an hour and a half, which was nice.
Yeah.
So we find our seat, and I'm just really tired, so I'm like, I'm just gonna sit.
Phil's in a mood, so I say I'm gonna go over to Hudson Gifts and find some stuff.
I don't know, mood. I guess I wasn't.
You were in a little mood.
I was just exhausted. Is what
I
it
know.
was.
That's why I didn't ask you to come.
Because I
with
didn't
me.
sleep very well the night before either.
You didn't sleep well the night before, and you didn't sleep on the plane. I slept on the plane.
So I was just like, sit me here. I'll watch all the stuff. You go do what Haley's do in airports.
So I said I was going to Hudson Gifts, but that was a lie. So I scampered off, and I went...
All the way across the airport.
Yeah.
We looked it up when we first got there. We're like, oh, is there a...
Beechers, because we love Beechers cheese curds. It's like the highlight of Seattle.
And
it was in the wrong terminal.
Yeah, it was in C or something like
that. Yeah, we
that.
landed in A. We took the train over to B.
But you would have to take like the terminal to terminal train, like from A, B, C to S, whatever.
Yeah.
And so it was like way over there. And I was like, oh, we can take this train. And Haley's like...
I didn't want to take a train to a train to a train and then come back. So I walked it. Which wasn't that bad. I think it was like a 15-minute walk, 10, 15. I went over to Beechers. I got 2 large thing of cheese curds.
We still have one upstairs.
Yeah.
When we got back, we did
poutine.
We did poutine. Like we went and got fries and gravy. Oh, that was the biggest thing of poutine I've ever eaten, and it was amazing.
So I got the Beechers. I came back. I surprised him.
Yeah,
I surprised me twice on this trip, though.
Yeah, and I surprised you with the trip, so we're even.
We'll call that.
Yeah.
So we got the cheese curds. Made it back to the flight. The flight
was short. That it felt like one of the shortest, because it wasn't a prop plane. It was a.
It was a normal plane.
It was a jet, so it felt like the flight was much shorter.
It felt like it was maybe 20, 30 minutes. I didn't even watch anything. I just stared out the window.
I don't even think we had anything to watch, did we?
I don't know. I was so tired at that point. We could have, and I just didn't rationalize it.
I kind of fell asleep. The way my seat was, so they have in first class, it's 1-on-1, right? You have one seat on each side.
I forgot about this.
Right?
Yeah.
So you have 1-on-1, right? And then as soon as you hit where we're seating, so on the flight back from Seattle from New York to Seattle, we were in the very front of the Comfort Plus. So
immediately behind first class. So
yeah,
there's
so
like a wall.
Yeah, we had a wall.
Curtain,
our tablets was weird and like further away from us, but that was fine. We had like so much more leg room, and so this one we did this same thing. When I selected the seats, I did the front of the section.
Comfort
right?
Plus.
Yeah, and so in this one you have one seat. Is it two seats on one side?
Okay, so how first class worked on this plane was there's one row of one seat, and then on the other side of the aisle, there were 2 rows. There were 2 seats. So you would walk in, and then immediately you had to turn.
Yeah, right in front of us, right? So you had you're walking, there's like, you're towards one side of the plane, right? But then when you got to us, it's 2 and 2, so you have to walk a jaunt, one whole seat over, right? Well, I got that seat that was like where everyone walks towards you, because your seat is where they're walking towards, and then they have to turn around and go down the aisle past you. And so, literally, I sat there and watched everyone come at me, and then when we were flying, like, I saw, like, straight from me to the flight attendant who was sitting in her flight attendant seat in first class. You know how she has to strap in?
Yeah.
We're staring at each other, because she's on the bulkhead looking at me, and I'm staring at her. And I'm just like, let me pretend to sleep. And then they actually did sleep.
I was going to ask, was this your meet cute? Yeah. So we landed in Spokane, nothing remarkable. We picked up our bags. They were not first, but I like to say it made it. We only checked one on the way back. Landed in Spokane, got the bag, went back to the car, took off our mask for the first time in 14 hours.
Yeah, it was
that was rough.
Water, yeah.
Because we didn't drink anything, we didn't eat anything, we didn't want to mess with the shield. So taking that mask off was a delightful moment.
It was cold and crisp outside, so you got a breath of just cold, crisp air. It was like, oh.
Yeah.
But the airport on the way back, for Spokane, it was just like land, walk out, bags. But the walk back to the car, we parked the furthest away, because we were like, when we get to the airport on Friday, we were running late.
Yeah. And
so I was like, we'll park in the garage, because we're running late, it's closest to the terminal. Well, the only space in the garage was as the furthest away.
Back wall.
And we probably could have parked outside and gotten to the hotel or the
airport
terminal faster. So on the way back, it was like, oh my god, we have to walk to the back of the garage, and that took forever. And then we got a car wash. It was nice. Yeah. I had to wait for someone to get a car wash.
So overall trip thoughts. Was it worth it for you to do New York for 2 days?
I would have loved to do more time, but I feel it was worth it.
I
It
loved
felt
it.
very short. It felt like we were there for a day.
I'm going to disagree. It felt like we were there for 3 or 4 days. At least for me.
It felt like we didn't do anything. Like we did just a couple things.
We did a couple things, but we did them, like, in depth. The thing is, yeah, we went to... So day one, we went to... I don't even remember what we did day one.
Well, good thing we have recapped.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
When we did something, we actually did it. Like, when we went to the Met, we spent 4 hours at the Met.
We put a whole rest of the afternoon there.
Yeah, when we went to the Statue of Liberty, we went up to the pedestal. When we went to a Broadway show, we did front row. When we did it, we went hard.
Yeah, the only thing... The Statue of Liberty, I'm sure we could have spent a little more time there. Because,
Easily.
Yeah,
we didn't even go through the museum.
We were kind of getting rushed a little bit at the end.
Well, we were rushed in the beginning, too, because I didn't know how long the pedestal would take.
Yeah. But, I mean, it felt overly rushed. It was just really nice. Overall,
So,
it was very us-paced.
What was the highlight of the trip for you?
I liked getting surprised with Statue of Liberty. That was really nice.
For me, it was definitely being the last people at the Temple of Dendur.
Oh, that one was awesome.
You could hear a pin drop. It was just the water sounds.
There's so
no
many
one around. In New York, you're constantly surrounded by people.
Yeah, I was about to say, there was a couple times on this trip where we were very alone, and it was very nice.
Which is nuts, and will never happen again, knock on wood.
Yeah,
but that was
Statue
just
of Liberty was
magical.
amazing.
Statue of Liberty was a blast, don't get me wrong, and being sneaky and planning that was super fun too, but just... The Temple of Dendur has been so special to me for so long in my life, to have that experience being just me and you there, that was incredible.
I love that we got lost in the Met. I never felt like we got lost in the London. Like,
I've gotten lost in the Met every time I've been there, and I've loved it every minute of it.
The British Museum, like, we were, like, always knew where we were, which is a good thing, I guess, but I loved being lost and, like, not knowing where we're going to come up again.
Did you enjoy being lost in Central Park?
I wasn't lost in Central Park.
You were completely disoriented.
I was turned around. So, Central Park, longer than it's wide, but when I had gotten into the park, I thought we had gone in off Fifth Avenue, so we were going down the long way. So if we had just kept walking straight, we would have gotten to the Met. However, we entered at 7th and then immediately turned right. So I hadn't calculated that. I thought, oh, if we keep walking straight, we'll get to the end of the park, we'll get to the Met. And I didn't realize we'd only been walking for 10 minutes, and it's like another 30-minute walk.
I've regaled him with stories of me being lost in Central Park for years, and it was a little bit vindicating.
Oh, I mean, we walked and walked and walked and walked, and I was like, oh man, we must be close. But all we had done was literally walked from 7th and kind of catty-cornered up to like 5th, and I was like, how? We've been walking forever.
Meandering through, we saw the Balto statue, we saw the dairy, it was lovely. We saw the skating rink.
Oh yeah. They were playing Power of Love, those.
So what was the best thing that you ate?
Cats, hands down cats. That sandwich was phenomenal. Although the pizza was good, Ray's pizza was good.
Ray's pizza might be it for me.
Although the pizza that first night really hit.
Yes, but
we were so hungry.
That's the thing is, clearly you and I were just starving, and anything would have been good.
Yeah, and it really was. It probably would have been. It was really shit pizza.
Yeah,
but it was just something. And she got Slurpees too. Oh.
Yeah, the Slurpees were nice.
But the Ray's was really good.
The Ray's was just, but that matzo ball soup from the first place.
Yeah, their sandwich sucked though.
The sandwich sucked, but the matzo ball soup from that first place. I'm gonna put the bagel too.
The bagels were really good. I just wish... The problem is we didn't have enough time.
And the cheesecake was good, too.
See, we could have gotten new bagels every day. But
we could have gotten new bagels every day.
But we were only there for 3 days, so it didn't matter. Like,
yeah. And we got Katz's for breakfast the last day. So I'm going to say Ray's Pizza was the best thing that I ate in New York.
Better than the
pastrami. I love the pastrami, don't get me wrong. But I have never liked thin crust pizza until this trip.
Yeah, it was really good. I would... What? Katz's is hands down.
Katz's was magical, and that's a solid number 2. Like, there's no denying how good Katz's is.
I would have loved if we visited not during a pandemic.
Sitting in Katz's and eating it, it probably would have ended up being number 1.
Well, not that. I would have taken you to a dinner. Yeah. We would have had a nice really nice sit-down dinner where I would have splurged a little bit, that might have been great. But we didn't have that, so
I
I
didn't
think
miss
that would have
it.
been really good.
I had so much fun on this trip. And the crazy thing was, once we were masked up, I really didn't think about COVID. The only time I thought about it was when we were in the summit at One Vanderbilt.
Yeah, and that tube.
Yeah, the tube where we were waiting with everyone around.
The whoosh.
Yeah, the whoosh tube.
Whoosh.
That was the only time that I really thought about it. Every other time, I really was able to enjoy myself, which I was surprised at pleasantly.
So, something I didn't know about that whoosh tube while
Yeah.
we're waiting is when that light goes down the corridor, you're supposed to feel a breeze only when that light blows by you, but it didn't. The effect wasn't working when we were there. It's supposed to really add to the experience, but we didn't feel that breeze every time.
Oh.
Every time that light goes by, you're supposed
I
to.
didn't know that was a thing.
The light's supposed to be pushed along with your the wind, but that would have been really a neat effect. But
It was just constantly windy. Mm-hmm. Which, honestly, is probably better COVID-wise.
they probably just ditched the whoosh
Yeah.
for the right people. Vanderbilt was nice. Central Park, not Central Park, the train terminal.
Oh.
Grand Central.
Yeah, Grand Central Station. That was pretty. I wish we'd spent more time there.
Yeah.
But it was such limited time. We didn't do, the shopping that I wanted to do.
Yeah, there's so much shopping we could have done.
Yeah.
And
But we
cheap
didn't-
shopping too. So
We didn't have the luggage space anyway. We left with 38 pounds and came back with 44.
unless that was sweat,
So, thank you for my trip.
of course.
Great birthday present. Until next time.
Yeah, we'll
Who
see
knows
you.
where we'll go next?
We'll see you for her surprise dating anniversary trip that she doesn't know about yet.
Yeah, you don't have any time off.